Dear Dee, I knew he was cheating on me with at least 2 out of 3 of my closest friends. How he would have time to do so is beyond me. Either way, I was set on my plan for the barbecue. It almost felt like a normal get-together where we all hang out like friends. But my brain would remember every so often that I was living a lie. I still managed to smile, laugh, and carry on like everything was fine. Maybe I laughed too hard at some points, but to hell with it. Paris and Dustin were the first to show. If you didn't know any better, you would think they are just the greatest couple, but apparently not since she was under someone else's man. Mike had the looks, charm, and some money to leverage, but Dustin would have given her the stability she needed. He was planning to propose to her a month from now. With Mike, I was holding on to the idea, but he only saw it as a foreign concept. I thought that he would come around and realize I didn't want him for his money no matter how much he spent on me. Why would he keep me around then? Was I not good enough? Ugh, I can't start this again. Ah yes, I was telling you about what happened at the barbecue. So Dustin comes to help me at the grill, and rightfully so, he starts to question where Mike was and why he wasn't helping. I tried to distract him from that topic and briefly mentioned something about him having to go to work. At this point, Beth and Jessica arrived, and they brought some nice side dishes. If only Jessica were this, considerate with my relationship. I didn't mind her having fun, but at what cost? And to top it all off, I was going to the bathroom and overheard Beth's phone call to Mike. She sounds so soft and sultry, it was sickening. She wanted to see if she should leave the BBQ early to meet him at the office for a quick session. I couldn't believe my ears. They were some of my closest friends. How could they throw 4 years down the drain like that? All I could do was compose myself and head to the kitchen to finish making my special chili. I brought out 3 containers, one with well-diced meat, my special sauce, and a blend of my herbs from the garden. Last night was going to be the last time we would all be together, so I had to make it special. Once everything was ready, the girls were flocking towards the chili, per usual. It was my specialty. What can I say? It's to die for. And as Dustin was making his way over, I had to lie and say that I put cilantro in the chili and I wouldn't want him to have an allergic reaction, so I made him a separate bowl. Dustin did not do anything wrong, so I didn't want him to experience the same fate as them, but I knew he would still be a victim to the casualty, once the truth was out and he lost Paris. Throughout dinner, I had to compose myself to not give away what was about to unfold. There were questions of the different taste to the chili and the looks of confusion for the meat, but they still ate it. Of course they did. They were so deprived, I had to give them some to eat. Ha! Their faces were to die for when I said it. Mike is what they wanted and Mike is what they got. I thought about using some of my herbs to take care of them, but I had something better in mind. The only pain I felt was for Dustin when he confronted Paris. He didn't want to believe it, but the truth was written all over her face. Dustin storms off and Paris following suit. As for Beth, she was throwing up behind the bushes, and thankfully not near my garden, or I would have knocked her out. As for Jess, she was sitting there, frozen. Ever so often she would mumble something. Eventually Paris returned, alone and with a lot of heat. I could not contain my laughter anymore. They were acting as though their life was over, but that was not my problem. They were planning on calling the cops because they thought I chopped up Mike and put him in the chili, when I mentioned that I added Mike in the chili. As tempting as that sounds, I don't want to go to jail because of him. I simply just added his homemade white elixir to the chili, my second ingredient. Now the first ingredient was just some chopped up male goats' reproductive parts. I figured I would serve them what they truly wanted. As for Mike, I am sure he is hiding out somewhere. I sent him the anonymous notice that he should get tested for STD to spook him, and paid off his doctor to ignore his calls for a few days. I switched out his results once they arrived, and just before he realized what I did, I asked him for some money for some self-care. Without any hesitation, I sent myself $5,000. He didn't have the guts to say anything because I know he felt somewhat guilty for possibly giving me something. When I confronted him this morning, I told him to not contact the girls for 24 hours or I would leak his embezzlement. I don't like resorting to blackmailing, but I needed to make sure my plans were played out. Good riddance to the time wasters of my life. I am going to take a well-deserved trip to Thailand with the $5,000 I got. But first, a drink. Cheers.
Hey, coming to you post editing because I just thought it would be nice to put a little context to how that story came about. And it was honestly for me just looking at that mini grill. I fell in love with it and I was like, I need to create a story to go along with it, right? But the initial story was a little bit more gruesome. The people that I ran the idea through were looking at me like I was crazy. So I was like, you know what? Maybe we should change it up a bit. And there we have our final piece. Also, let me know if you guys want to put out your own story. You can hit me up through my email or other links on my profile. If you want to keep it anonymous or not, it's up to you. Until next time though, thank you so much.